Things happen for a reason and in their own time. This quote by actress and singer Idina Menzel does a great job at expressing my views on fate. In my opinion, every occurrence, good or bad, will play a role in your life. The best friends you have may have come from the worst tragedy you experienced, or a previous hardship may have given you the strength to persevere later. Everything happens for a reason. This I believe.
I woke in pitch black darkness. Cold sweat was dripping from my forehead. I had just had another nightmare. The clock on my nightstand glowed at 12:45. I'd only been asleep for half an hour. I knew that I couldn't go back to sleep again. Instead, I turned on my MP3 player that I connected to the alarm clock and selected my favorite song. That nightmare had been very freaky, and I remembered the entire thing as if it were real. After a few minutes, I began to calm down. I turned off the music and fell back into calm sleep. I believe in the power of music and its ability to change a person's mood. I'm not sure whether it's the actual notes themselves or the rhythm, but I know that music has a huge influence on how a person thinks, feels, and reacts to situations. Whether someone is angry or downright depressed, music has the ability to alter a person's mood to the theme of the music.
I believe in love. I believe in many different types of love. A mother, a sister, and a friend are all types of connections.
Back in 2000, my other grandmother passed away. While she was in the hospital, she always had a smile on her face. A couple weeks before she passed away, she was in her hospital bed, craving a cheeseburger from Burger King. Even though this food wasn't the best for her at the time, this is what made her happy. So my uncle and I walked about 5 blocks to a Burger King to get her a cheeseburger. A simple experience like this perfectly describes living life to the fullest in 2 weeks.
My hands felt clammy as I signed the release form. I could feel panic welling up inside of me until I was almost sure it would overwhelm me. As I looked down at the glossy red bobsled in front, I kept asking myself, what have you gotten yourself into this time? My parents got into the cart first, then the driver turned to look at me. With every step I took, I could feel a knot tightening in my stomach. As I got into the bobsled, I was handed a large helmet that I am guessing was red once upon a time. But now it was so beat up and the paint was chipped to the point where you really couldn't tell anymore. As if reading my mind, my mother asked the person driving our sled, "Why are the helmets so beaten up?" The driver just gave us a smile and then turned his attention back to the sled. We were off. As we sped down the track, I felt myself being thrown forcefully from side to side in this tiny space. Now I understood why the helmets were so battered. We were going so fast that everything around me became a blur of colors. All I could hear was the low grumbling of the cart as it sped forward. Going at 75 miles per hour in a bobsled was very different than in a car. I forced myself to keep my eyes open. Fear tightened its grip on me until I felt a sickening, sinking feeling at the pit of my stomach. Screaming in panic was about all I wanted to do at the moment, but I forced myself to laugh instead. I wanted to bury my head in my hands and hide, but I sat tall, and just as quickly as it had begun, the ride was over. To do anything truly worth doing, I must not stand back shivering and thinking of the cold and danger, but jump in with gusto and scramble through as well as I can.
Have you ever complained? Ever thought that the thing you were complaining about was outside your control? Well, did you ever think that it might be something that you could fix? I do. One of my guiding beliefs is, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
When I was 9 years old, I attended an all-girls camp for 8 weeks. Camp was mostly carefree and fun, but there was one thing I had yet to learn. At camp, we all fought a lot. It wasn't easy living in a bunk with 10 unfamiliar girls in the middle of Denmark, Maine. Still, if you fought with someone, you had to work it out because you were going to live with that person for the rest of the summer. This experience taught me a lot about working out problems.
Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, vision cleared, ambition inspired, and success achieved. This was stated by American writer and lecturer Helen Keller in her journal. Her achievements were extraordinary and inspirational. She made decisions in her life that made her who she was. Helen decided to overcome her disability and show the world what she could do.
This is a decision that truly inspires me and is one that I remember daily to help guide me through life's rough patches. Do I decide to fight this? Do I decide to let it go? I believe that these are the kind of decisions that you make in your life that shape your character and your personality. Decisions are a part of life. No matter which option people choose, they usually play what if with themselves. What if I chose this? What if I chose that? In elementary school, I knew immediately that I wanted to be a writer. I was teased because I loved to read. The other kids would go play soccer after school on the weekends, while I would go to the library and delve into worlds that I longed to be a part of. I was called names like geek and bookworm. When I was given an ultimatum to either stop doing what I loved or lose my friends, I chose to keep reading a part of my life. My friends kept their end of the bargain and ignored me. However, in time, I made new ones. Today, I still love to read. My friends like that I do something different with my time. If I had given up the one thing that I loved, I would not be the same person I am today.
On a cold winter day, I was walking with some of my cousins through Central Park. We passed a man sitting on a bench, holding an empty coffee cup in his left hand. His head was bowed down into a small blanket that he had around his shoulders. Aside from that, the only items of clothing he wore was a pair of pants and a dirty t-shirt. I watched him as the busy people passed, wishing I could help. My cousins called me over and we left the park. That night, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stand the idea of sleeping in a warm bed, only imagining how cold the man I saw in the park that day must be feeling, with only a bench to rest on. That night, I promised myself that from then on, I would look at my life with new eyes, and always be thankful for what I had.
If we really want to love, we must learn how to forgive. It's important to forgive people. Sometimes it can be really difficult. There are some things in life that I still haven't forgiven yet, but I'm working on it. I think it takes time and practice to be able to forgive and forget. I know that if I have done something wrong, I would like to be forgiven because I am not perfect. I believe that it's important to forgive people because none of us are perfect.
These students' essays perfectly illustrate one of my fundamental beliefs as an educator. People learn best when they create their own knowledge. This, I believe,